Can't believe it's November.
I know.
Shocking.
It's crazy. Time flies.
Very true.
No, please don't. No, I'm making it.
You're not bringing her back. You can. You're not bringing her back.
Hi, everybody. We're going to get started. I have some slides to pull up. Just give me a second. Thanks for the compliment on the music. There we go. All right, and then also you can make sure if you go in the upper right, you can toggle it to speaker view or gallery view, depending on what you want to see. And note that this meeting is being recorded, and we'll send out that link by the end of this week to all speakers. So I just want to say thank you. Thanks for being here at the training. This is the agenda for today. So I'm doing the welcome right now, and then Jessica will explain how to log in. I just sent out an email that came from the support@fusionlp.org inbox that has some more information on how to log in, especially if you did not receive that invitation email. And then after Jessica explains how to log in, Chase will explain how to navigate Juno as a speaker and room host, just because they have such similar capabilities on Juno. And then after that, I'll come back and do a 5-10 minute spiel on how you'll be supported and some to-dos for you. And then you'll have an option to ask questions. Feel free to ask questions in the chat as the session is going on, but know that there is dedicated time at the end to ask questions. And you can, if you ask questions in the chat, I have some colleagues here that can answer as well as me. And then after the Q&A, we'll all transition over to Juno. So then the Zoom meeting will end. We'll all transition over to Juno. So just please make sure that you have created your account on Juno. It doesn't take too long, and Jessica will go over that. And I just wanted to say, so some of my colleagues are on this call. So we have Sarah Bednarik, she's in charge of sponsor management. We have Megan Callistad, she's our registration expert, and she monitors our support inbox and answers attendee questions, especially regarding registration, about getting into the site. And then Sam Alley is our senior event manager. And so they're here to assist in answering questions. If you put any questions into the chat, they'll help answer them. They'll also help answer questions during the Q&A. And I also wanted to note that our site is still under construction and some sessions are still being added. So next week, if you do not see your session or something is incorrect, please let us know. It might not be on there today, but if it's not on there next week, please reach out to us. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to the support inbox, since many of us monitor that. And again, this meeting is being recorded. The link for the recording, and then as well as these presentation slides and a speaker FAQ will be sent to speakers by the end of the week. So please, send, if you have co-presenters, please ensure they watch that, or at least have the information they need. And I'm going to hand it off to Jessica now. She is going to discuss how to create your account on the conference platform.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, Noelle. I'm super excited to have all of you guys here today learning how to use Juno. So the first thing that you're going to do, I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat for everybody just so that you have this later on, but this is the link that you guys would need to log into the Juno platform. So that's in the chat for you guys there. And once you're on that site, you'll see a screen that looks just like this. What will go away over the next couple of days is the Join Today button. So that's going to be something you guys can just kind of ignore. You guys actually are already in the system. You already have login credentials. So what you're going to want to do is click on Login here. From there, as Noelle mentioned, you have been emailed login credentials. Those login credentials came from this email, which I will put in the chat right now as well. So if you guys want to search your inboxes, search your spam folders if you don't see it in your inbox, but this is where you received your login credentials from. If you are not able to find that email, don't worry, we can at the end of today's call get you your login credentials and make sure that you can get into the Juno platform successfully before we leave today. But so from here, you'll just enter your email address, you'll enter your password. If at any point throughout the conference you forget your password or you're unable to get in, again, because you're already in the system, you can just click the Forgot Your Password link, and that will send you a link via email to the email address that we have on file for you. And you'll be able to click a link. It's basically a magic link that will get you right into the site it'll kind of bypass the password thing. It's a link that will be unique to you that will allow you to get into the site, and then you can reset your password at that point if you would like to. So once you've logged in and you've put your login credentials into the system, you'll be able to just click login there in the bottom right-hand corner. And once that's done loading, you will be on Juno. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Chase, who will complete the rest of the training here. But that would be how you would log in. And again, if you do not have your login credentials or you're not able to find those emails from myself or Noelle, just stick around until the end of the call. We will be able to troubleshoot for you and get you into the Juno platform.
Perfect, thank you. So we're already here, we're already on the home screen. Before I jump in and start going through those actual live sessions and what we're going to be doing there, I do want to jump into the profile and show how we can make a couple of changes there. So that's going to be in the top right corner here. Right now it's showing an image of myself. That's because I've added one in there. If you haven't yet, it's going to be a gray silhouette of a person just as a default. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And I did see a couple messages pop up saying that the profile was empty here. If I just refresh real quickly, it may take just a moment, but it should update and give you all of these different options on how to update. All right, but this is where you would change that password. You'll enter it once here and then confirm it again down here. If you want to upload a new avatar, which I do recommend, I'll point out a little later on where that actually shows up. But you would just click right here. That'll open up a window on your computer asking you what file you want to use, which you can then go and navigate to and use that as your avatar. There's additional information that you can add as we scroll down through here if you want people to be able to see that. And then we get down to this area, which is relatively important. My availability, away dates, and allow members to contact me. So through the platform, there are a couple different ways that people will be able to reach out to you, set up meetings or message you if you want any of that to happen. You'll need to have this slider over to the right with that colored background. If you don't want people to contact you, you can keep that over to the left. But just for this example, I'll keep that on the right. You can also set your availability. So let's say you only want people setting up meetings with you between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. You can adjust that here to be between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Something to note, these times showing on this page as well as in the schedule will be showing whatever time zone your computer is set to. So you don't have to worry too much about moving between different time zones. It's all going to be whatever your computer reads. All right, but if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, we have our save button that will make any of those changes that we've made permanent. But right above that is a test your setup section. There's a link that says click here. If I were to do that and click on the link, it would open up a window that would run through some tests on my microphone and camera, just to make sure those are working properly and to make sure Juno can actually communicate through those. So you will have technical support that can help out with any issues that you might run into. But this will be a great head start if you want to go ahead and click on that just to make sure everything's working right off the bat. All right, but to return back to the home page, I can either click on the logo up here or where it says home. And that brings us right back here where we were when we first logged in. All right, to go and actually find any of those upcoming sessions, whatever we're going to be involved in, we can select content right here. And it brings us to this page that essentially has an entire schedule of everything coming up. So I can scroll down through here and we can see there's one that's currently live. This one has a timer counting down. It starts in about 3.5 minutes. And then some of these are a little further out. Let's say I really want to be involved in this one, or it's one that I'm speaking in. I want to add it to my sort of personal calendar here. I can go ahead and click attend, and that will switch to saying attending. Now, if I scroll back to the top here, there's a My Schedule tab. I select that, it's only going to show me sessions that I have clicked attend on. That way I won't have to go through that entire list every time I'm looking for a new session. I can bring that down to only sessions that I actually care about and have those here. So that's what I can focus most of my attention on. But looking at this test room, we can see it starts in a little under 3 minutes. That start time is the time that it officially goes live, when all attendees will be able to join in, when people will start watching you on screen. However, as someone that is a speaker or moderator, you will be able to go in early, up to half an hour early. We do recommend you go in that full half hour early. That's when you'll be able to run through tech checks, make sure everyone's on the same page about how the session's going to go and how to handle any questions that might come in. So that's what we call the green room, is that 30 minutes before the session actually starts. So if you hear me reference back to that, that's what I'm talking about. But since we're well within that 30 minutes right now, I can go ahead and click on the name of the session, and it brings me into the room here once this loads. I've been struggling with some internet issues today. I've had a bunch of stuff open, so I'll go ahead and give that a refresh again. All right, perfect. So this is what it'll look like when you join into a session and nobody is currently on screen. It's going to say you're the first here. And since we are in that green room, we have this timer in the top left saying there's 1 minute until live. Eventually, when that gets down to less than 1 minute, it will start counting down by the seconds so that we can get a little closer of an idea of when that's going to go live for everybody to join in. So since we're in that green room, usually what we do is we run through some tests on your microphone and camera in here. The microphone and camera buttons are down here. However, if I were to try and click either of those right now, I would get an error saying that my camera is already being used somewhere else. And that's because I have it turned on in Zoom. So if I go ahead and shut that off, then I would be able to use these. That brings me to a great best practices point. We recommend turning off anything that's running in the background that might be trying to use your camera or your microphone. So anything like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, we recommend closing those down, as well as anything that's not necessary for the presentation. That way you'll conserve resources on your computer and just make sure you're giving the best experience to people that are watching you present. But I'll go ahead and turn my microphone on, but then I'll turn it off again pretty quickly, just because if I keep it open, we would get a pretty nasty echo. All right, perfect. So I pop up on screen when I turn that microphone on. We can see Jessica popped up here as well. She's another speaker that's in the room. We have about 5 seconds until this goes live. So if we watch that, it'll hit 0 and then just fade away. And that's when we know that the session has gone live. All right, now that that timer is gone, we know attendees are joining in. They're seeing anybody that's on screen right now. There's not going to be any huge flash on the screen letting you know that you've gone live. That's what it will look like. But like I said, my image here popped up on the screen when I turned my microphone on, and it stays up there once I turn that off. This image is going to be whatever I had set in my profile up here. So again, if you leave that as the default, this will just show as a silhouette for you. All right, now if I want people to actually see me instead of just a profile image, I can go ahead and click the camera button here, and it pops up on screen with just me. All right, if I wanted to turn that off again, same process, just one quick click and I go back away. It will, again, still keep up my profile image here. I'll get to, in just a moment, how to completely remove yourself from the screen if that's something that you want to do. But before we do that, I want to go through and show how we can share a screen. So there's the screen share button right here. If I select that, we get another pop-up giving us all of our different options on how we can share our screen. The first one that we see is sharing by an entire screen. So we have our 2 different monitors right here. I have 2 monitors on my computer. That's why we have 2 options. If I wanted to share, let's say screen 2, I would select that. The share button lights up and I would be able to click that. Then that would pop up on screen. Anybody in the session would be able to see that. However, something to keep in mind with that is if I'm sharing PowerPoint slides on that screen and I'm done with them, I close them down, they're going to see whatever was behind that. So just keep that in mind. We usually see people share a different way when they're sharing PowerPoint slides. I'll get to that in just a moment. But next up, I'm going to jump all the way over to the right side here where it says Chrome tab. So like the name implies, we do recommend Google Chrome as your web browser. It's going to be the most supported. It's going to give you the smoothest operation. And like I'm about to go over, it has a little bit more functionality than some other browsers. So if you have anything that you need to share that has audio to go along with it, so a video or a PowerPoint with videos in it that you need people to be able to hear, that needs to be done through a Chrome tab. A couple different ways on how you can do that. You can open PowerPoints through Chrome directly, or you can open videos in Chrome directly. But once that's open in Chrome, you would select the tab. I'll just use this new tab as an example. And then make sure that this box down here is checked that says Share Tab Audio. That way, when I click share, it'll pop up on screen. I start playing that. Anybody that's in the session will be able to hear that as well. Now I'll go over into the center one that is window. So this will allow you to share a specific program window. So like I said earlier, if we were sharing the entire screen and we got to the end of the PowerPoint and we close those down, people would see whatever was behind those. In this case, if I close PowerPoint down, the screen's just going to go black. They won't see whatever was behind that. So I have some PowerPoint slides up over here. I'll go ahead and share those. And they pop up on screen like this. Something to keep in mind, if Depending on how the session is set up, this one is set up so that everybody kind of shares equal space on the screen. But for some other sessions, it would look more like this, except the PowerPoint slides would be full screen up here. Right now, they're not showing. That might be an issue on my end, but they would be essentially full screen up there. Any other speakers would show along the bottom as sort of a film strip style. All right. If I need to end my screen share, I can either click stop sharing on this pop-up right here, or I can click the screen share button again, and that goes away. All right, now, like I said, we can remove ourselves completely from the screen if that's something that we want to do. That would be done through this stack of 3 dots. The first option that we have is the option to leave. So if I select that, we have 2 more options to continue watching or return home. Return home would do basically what it says. It would send me back to the home page, that one that we were first on when we logged in. But if I click continue watching, I stay in the room. I'm still able to watch and see anything else that's going on. I like to think of that as stepping off of the stage into the audience if this were a live event. Again, I'm still able to see and hear anything that's going on stage, but I'm not the center of attention anymore. If I need to return, I can just click the camera button and I pop right back up on screen. Some of those other options that we have in this stack of 3 dots are settings. So this is really more of a troubleshooting step than anything else. If you join into a session and people aren't able to see you or they aren't able to hear you right away, this is a great first place to check. Our tech support team will direct you here, but it's where you can change your input for your camera or your microphone. Let's say you have multiple microphones and it's looking for the incorrect one. You could come into this drop down and select a different source. And that's going to be the same with the video up here. Then you would just hit save and that would update for everybody to see or hear. The next option in this little more option here is to stop all. Now, usually I bring this up and then mention that we recommend staying away from it because that will essentially end the session. If I click stop all, it'll tell everybody that a moderator has ended the session. They'll all be sent back to the home page. So at the very end of the session, if you end early or anything, that might be something that you want to do. But other than that, we recommend staying away from it. Right above that is mute all. So if you have multiple people in the session, there's a couple people on screen, all of their microphones are turned on, you're getting a lot of echoing or feedback, you can't tell who it's coming from, you could just hit mute all. Everybody that has their microphone turned on would get a pop-up like this saying that it's been turned off by a moderator. If they needed to return and turn that back on again, all they would need to do is click microphone right here. All right, and then as far as breakout sessions, that is going to be done through this moderate button. So if you're sending people out into breakout sessions, you would select this and you'll get this pop-up that lets you add in a little bit more information about how these breakouts are going to go. You can set the duration for these. So let's say I only want this to be 10 minutes long. It'll send people out into breakouts that will each be 10 minutes long before they're brought back. And you can decide the room capacity, so how many people you have in each room. I'll drop that down again to 10. All right, and then we can click assign randomly here. That's what I'll use as an example. If I select that, it's going to take everybody that is currently in the session and just grab them all, sort them out, and send them into these different breakout rooms. So that took a few seconds there. So something to note is there were only, I think, 2 people in the room with me. So as you get more and more people, that's going to take a little longer. It is a little bit more useful if you have fewer people in the session. So just something to keep in mind there. But after those are all sent out, we get this pop-up in the top left as the person that sent them out. It's going to give us a timer saying how long is left until those people are going to be brought back. But we could also click view breakouts. And since there aren't enough people in here to fill up multiple rooms, it only created 1 breakout room. That's breakout 0. If I wanted to go in and visit that one, I can just click on it. And it's going to take me out of that previous room and send me over into that new breakout that was created. So in these breakouts, everyone would be able to turn on their microphone and camera. They'll all have permission to do that in here. So let's say I'm done in here and I want to return back to that home room. I can click view breakouts again and return to test room. That's the name of the room that we were in previously. That will bring me back here. However, everybody else that was in those breakouts are still in there. So let's say instead of typing in 10 minutes, I accidentally typed in 100 and I need to bring people back a little bit early. I can go ahead and click retrieve. That'll confirm that I want to do that. And then everybody that's in those breakouts will get a little pop-up on their screen saying that they're being brought back to the main room. They can click OK on that and they'll start joining back in here. So that's essentially the entire process of sending people out into breakouts and bringing them back. All right, now moving over to the right side of the screen here, we're getting more into some of that attendee interaction. Down here, we have these emojis that people will be able to interact with. They can click on these and they'll just float up across the screen for everybody to see. Everyone will be able to click on those. One way we see those being used is when a speaker first starts speaking, they'll say something along the lines of, "Can everybody hear me? Please give me a thumbs up if you can." And you'll see a whole lot of those come up across the screen just to make sure that everything is working properly. Now to the right of that, we have this dark gray area. Right now it's in polls, but what it should be showing you is the chat here. This is going to be just like any other chat you've used, really. Everyone's going to be able to use it. They'll all be able to post messages in here. I can type out hello, send that. Anybody in here will see it. This is really where people can talk amongst themselves, introduce themselves, anything like that. Now, as a speaker or moderator, we also have access to this little red icon that will pop up next to every message that's sent. If anything comes up where someone's off topic or being inappropriate in the chat, we do have the ability to remove that message or kick and ban those users. I've never actually seen any of those be used before, but they are an option if we need to. If I click remove message, that just goes away completely, doesn't leave any trace of it behind. Now, next up is the Q&A section, so questions and answers. If I go over there, we can see there's already a few in here. Before I jump into what moderators can do here, I want to kind of step back and treat this as if I were an attendee, just so that you're aware of what they would be seeing. As an attendee, I would not see this Ask Presenter button, and I would not see this stack of 3 dots here. So later on, when I'm going through this from a moderator or speaker perspective, just know that attendees will not be able to interact with this or anything that's contained in the 3 dots here. But as an attendee, I would be able to see questions that other users have asked. So like this, what's your favorite color, or where are you from? I'm able to see those. Let's say I am really interested in this where are you from question. That's something that I'd like to see answered as well. I can go ahead and vote for that. And we can see that moves all the way up to the top. Whatever has the most votes will move up to the top. That way, if maybe you're getting close to the end of the session, you're running out of time, you can sort of prioritize what questions you're going to address by what has the most votes. All right. Again, as an attendee, I would be able to come down here. It's going to be in the same area and type in whatever question I want to ask down here. That'll show up for everybody else as well. But now, as a presenter or a speaker or a moderator, I'll go over a few more options here. Like I mentioned, in that green room, I do recommend that speakers and moderators talk with each other just to make sure everyone's on the same page about how questions will be addressed or answered or brought up. So one option that we have is this Ask Presenter button. It's not something that has to be done, not something that has to be used, but if I click Ask Presenter, that pops up on screen for everybody to see. So let's say some people are just watching the chat, they may not be watching the Q&A. Clicking Ask Presenter will put that up on screen for everybody just to sort of reiterate whatever question is being addressed. However, as the speaker, we do recommend that you read that out loud again, just to make sure everyone hears it. So I would say, I see we have a question coming in asking where I'm from. I'm from Idaho. And then as a moderator, we know we can come in, that's been answered. We can click mark as answered here. We get a new tag down here letting us know that that's already been addressed. Additionally, let's say you're getting toward the end of the session and maybe another speaker speaking, you're done with your question and answer portion, but you still have some questions in here that you want to be able to answer. In that stack of 3 dots, we can select Add Answer, and that will attach a new text box directly below the question. where I can come in, type my response to it, and when I hit send, it will mark it as answered and attach my response directly to it so that it will be more organized than if it were just coming in through the chat. We do recommend everyone put their questions in the Q&A. So keeps it a little more organized here, and people will know what response belongs to what question. All right, so that covers Q&A. Next, I'll hop over into polls. If I select that, these are something that would need to be submitted before everything goes live because they do need to be input on the back end. However, once those are added, they'll show up in a drop down underneath, choose a question to send. If I click there, we see this drop down with all of our different questions. Just for an example, I'll select this seasons poll. And the next option down here is how long we want that to be visible, how long we want people to be able to respond to it. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to 15 seconds just to save a little bit of time there. Now, when I click send on this, anybody that is in the session will automatically be brought over to polls. They'll see this, they'll be able to select their response. And then once this timer actually counts down and hits 0, we're going to be able to see what percentage of responses belonged to which option here. So there must be someone else in the room that responded with me. 50% of the responses belong to spring and 50% of them belong to fall. All right. Now moving over to the final one here, we have our mod area. So this will not be available to attendees. Like the message says here, it's going to be private. Only speakers, moderators, and staff will be able to see it. So if you have anything that comes up or if you have any questions for the staff, we recommend reaching out here. That way attendees won't be involved in that conversation. If you have any questions for technical support, give us a shout over in the mod chat. We'll be watching that. We'll be able to hop right in and help out, make sure everything gets going smoothly again. All right, I have a few more things to address here just to make sure we're covering everything. So if you have any, let me step back a bit. That covers essentially everything that you'll be doing once the session is actually live, all of your interaction with the tools here, as well as with the audience. However, if you have any downloadables that you want people to be able to download, maybe you want to attach your slides so that people can grab those for later. One option for how to do that is if I scroll down, you should see an edit button that will actually let you edit the session itself. If I select that, it brings us to a page that looks like this. From here, to actually add those resources, you'll select resource and click add resource right here. It'll bring up this pop-up. You can give a title for that. So you might just name that something like PowerPoint slides. And then when you click upload file, it will open a window on your computer asking you to go find what file you want to use. So you would upload that there, click save changes. I'll go ahead and hit cancel. And then you would hit save changes here again. So I want to leave without saving changes. And then it would show up down here, sort of like this test question is showing, but it would show up as a line saying downloads. You'd be able to click on that and anybody in the session will be able to download that to their computer. So another way that you can add those, let me jump back to this schedule real quickly. If the session hasn't gone live yet, I will use this welcome to Keynote again as an example. If the session hasn't gone live yet and you're not within those 30 minutes that you would be able to join into the green room, this is what you'll be dropped off on, sort of a landing page here. If you still want to add in a download for something, you can, again, scroll down and you'll see the edit button here. And then from there on, it's going to be the same interaction. You'll go to resources, add a new resource, and then add in those downloads. All right, I think that might be everything I have to cover. So unless you want to add anything in there, Jessica, I'll hand it over to you.
Perfect. No, that was great. Thank you so much, Chase. Again, if I saw some questions that popped up in the chat, if you guys had any issue logging into the platform or you did not yet receive your credentials, there will be time at the end of the call where we can troubleshoot and get you your login credentials so that you can get into the platform. Just to confirm, so I did see these questions pop up. If you created an account previously because you were directed by the Fusion team to create using the Join Today button, you can just use those credentials to log back into the site if that's the way that you created your account. If you were not prompted to join the site that way by the Fusion team, you already have an account in the system. So please don't create a duplicate account, because then it wouldn't let you, the system won't let you create a duplicate account. So if that is the case and you were not instructed to join that way using the Join Today button, you will want to be sure, if you do need to get into the system and you forgot your password or something like that, you can use the forgot password link instead on the login screen. And that will bring you directly into the site via email. And we can cover that a little bit more at the end for those of you that are having any login difficulties, but just wanted to clarify that. If you use the Join Today button and you already have an account in the system, it's not going to let you create a second account that way. And then, yes, Lisa, this all is recorded. So for those of you that joined late, this video recording will be provided to the Fusion team so they can distribute that to you guys as well. With that said, I will turn it over to Noelle, because I know that she has some announcements for you guys. And then at the end of the call, again, we'll be able to troubleshoot any login issues.
Perfect. And thanks for correcting me. So if everyone here should have their email in the Juno system. So rather than creating a duplicate account by clicking Join Today, just click Forgot Password. Thanks for clarifying, Jessica. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So just some information about like room host responsibilities and your expectations. At the beginning, you want this. Okay. So everyone will have a room host each session. And next week we'll send out a Google spreadsheet that lists all of the sessions and then who your room host will be, and then as well as their email. So that way, if you want to contact them before, you can. But essentially, they are responsible for just ensuring the breakout session runs smoothly. So they will, just as you will, they will join the session 15 minutes before start time. The session is available to join 30 minutes before start time, but please join, 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes before. The room host will remain with you in your session the whole time. They can moderate chat. They'll make sure that questions, if attendees post any questions into the Q&A, that they get answered. And then if people are having issues getting in, they'll address those technical issues. We have a whole team of Juno help at our fingertips to ensure anything tech is addressed and resolved. And they'll also, so each session will have a poll that is launched at the end that is like a rate the session and then leave any session comments. The really cool thing is that you as a speaker will be able to see those results. You'll be able to see what attendees said after the session. And then I wanted to note that speakers will be directed to, we ask that you introduce yourself and kick off your own session. If you'd like the room host to do that, they can. You could just communicate that beforehand, email them. And also they can have their camera on or off during the session, just as, attendees have that option. But if you want them to do anything beyond what's listed here, please contact them. If you want them to share slides, for example. So that is information about room host responsibilities. Just some session things, which I think I have sent these all in an email before, but I know you're getting a lot of emails from me. So just note that the sessions do record automatically upon start time, so no one has to press a record button, which is really great. And again, we ask you to join 15 minutes before session start time. The green room does open up 30 minutes before start time. And when you do join that green room, there is a countdown. So you'll know exactly, when the live stream will appear to attendees, and then attendees can join. There also isn't a limit to how many people can join a session or be on screen. But if we do have a session that has, say, 30 plus people in it and they would all have their video on, it would definitely slow it down. Typically not everyone in a session has their video on, so that should not be an issue. But just to note, and yep, they can turn on their mic as well. And you as a speaker and the room host, you can mute people if you need to and turn off their video if you need to. And then polls, like Chase said, they need to be emailed to me ahead of time so we can add those. And then you'll see, room hosts and speakers have the capability to navigate to the polls tab, and they can launch a poll at any time. You can set how many seconds that it is launched for. And then breakout rooms is an option, just like Zoom breakout rooms. You can choose the number of rooms. You can't place attendees in specific rooms. And Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe once an attendee is in a room, they can view the breakout rooms and move to another one.
Yes, that should be possible for you guys, for attendees to swap rooms, but we can confirm that.
Okay, got it. And then I know in Zoom you can do virtual backgrounds. I just wanted to let everyone know that's not supported by Juno. If you want to, you can download an external cam, like there's one called Chroma Cam, and you can use that if you do want to have a virtual background or blur your background. And then also, and we're doing this at the end of the session, we're going to be joining a test session. That's something really neat, is before the conference starts, you can join any of these test sessions at any time, turn on your video, test your audio, just see how it looks and feels. And we'll have those expire, before the conference starts on November 16th. Let me see if I have anything else. And during the conference and before the conference, just some resources on who to contact if you have questions. So if you have a question about registration, or you still can't access the site, or need someone to reset your password, so contact our support inbox, because like I monitor that, manage that, Megan does, Sarah does. So we'll make sure that gets addressed. And if you have questions during the conference, say you are having issues joining your session, or you need like the link sent, like the URL page session link sent, you can contact your room host. You can email support, and then note that your room host email will be on the Google spreadsheet that's sent next week. Just some, the last thing before the Q&A is just some to-dos. So Jessica and Chase explained, how to update your profile and the things that you can add. And we are launching the site to attendees tomorrow. So if your profile looks a bit blank today, it will be up to speed tomorrow. And there might be more things to add, such as like you can add more interests. Some of you may have your bio if you submitted it in any of the forms that you filled out. That should be in your profile. Otherwise, please add if not. Also, make sure to add your sessions to your personal agenda. They don't automatically appear on your personal agenda. So then what we ask you to do is, if you go to like content, and then in the sub nav, there's a conference agenda page, and then all you have to do is scroll your session. You could search for it, and then you just select attend. And even adding things to your personal agenda will give you games or give you points in the game, which is cool. And then also you can add sessions to like your Outlook, Google Calendar. If you go to conference agenda, there's a button that says add to calendar. And then, like I said, join a test session. We'll be joining one right after the Q&A. If you can't make it, that's okay. But just know that you can do that on your own time until the conference. And then lastly, if you have slides, and if you choose to, you can upload your slides to your session. You could do that on the back end. You could do that at any time. We recommend that. I will send out the PowerPoint template, which is actually what I'm using for these slides here. So yep, I will send that out. And then before we go to the Q&A, I'm going to hand it over to Sam, our senior events manager. He just has a quick ask. So Sam. I'll ask him to unmute. Oh, you can't? Okay,
I've got that. Let me unmute him.
we've all experienced this.
All right, now I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Hi, Sam.
You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, everybody. I just wanted to say a huge thank you. This has been a long time coming to get to this point. You've submitted your sessions. You've been working with us to update profiles and come along on this journey to basically make a wonderful 40th annual IT symposium. It's really great to see how many people turned out today. So my big ask is to just help in the promotion. You've all got some great sessions, share it out there with your networks for folks to come join us at the symposium. We're on track for the same attendee rates as we had last year, but we'd obviously love to kind of blow that out of the water and shoot for the moon. So any and everything you can do to just share that you're going to be participating, share about your session, and get folks interested in attending is greatly appreciated. Obviously, we want to fill the seats and have a great symposium. So thank you for everything you've done so far. And, we're just a few short weeks away. So.
Thanks, Sam. And I will also, along with like the recording link and the speaker FAQ and the PowerPoint template, if you choose to use that, I'll send our promotion toolkit, which I know it was sent maybe over a month ago, but I will definitely resend that. Otherwise, this is time for Q&A. So there's been questions in the chat, and I think we've been trying to answer them all. Apologies if we didn't get yours. If anyone has questions, feel free to unmute and ask, or post them in the chat. Steven says, is the room host the only one that has access to the room's edit button? Speakers will also have access to the edit button. So that's how you will upload your PowerPoint slides to your session page. Yeah, and Jessica, so we're transitioning into a Juno test session now. And that will be the end of our meeting, so we won't go back to the Zoom meeting after. So Jessica, if you want to post those, I can stay back here for a bit in case people have questions or they're not getting into the Juno session. I can help troubleshoot. So I'll remain in the Zoom session until most people are transitioned over to a Juno test room.
Absolutely. And I'll stay on here as well. I've got Chase heading into the test rooms so that he can kind of help out there as well. And then I'll stay here if there's anybody who's having trouble with login credentials. We can get them reset passwords and all of that. There were a couple of questions that came through that I wanted to address. I did see something about anyone can put a question in Q&A. That is correct. So any attendee, any speaker, moderator, anyone can use that Q&A tab. Moderators, you can, if you see like a really good question that you want to push to the screen. That's really the big difference between the chat and the Q&A, is that the Q&A will allow you to either answer that right in the chat directly beneath the question, like Chase showed in the training, or you can push it to the screen as an ask presenter, which it'll show up in the main presenter window. So if you do see a good question that you want to use in that way, if you're a moderator, you can totally pull that over and you guys can, discuss among yourselves within your session groups and teams about, how you would want to kind of run that. But that is a capability that you have. You can copy directly from the chat, paste back into the Q&A, and then kind of track your questions that way if that's something that you want to do. So just wanted to clarify that. Now I'm going to, will co-presenters need their own link? Kirk, do you mean to get into the session or their own login? They will use the same exact link to get into the session. Anyone who needs to get into the session will use that same link, but they will have their own accounts, I believe. Noelle, correct? We need them to have their own login credentials. Perfect. And then let me just make sure I've been able to click attend on my session, but the edit button is not available. So Stephen, we still are in the process of getting everybody edit admin access to their sessions. If you don't have edit access, I would say, Noelle, what did you say, like next week or?
Yeah, yep. If by next week you're seeing, hey, my session's not up, or there's something missing, or I can't edit it, let us know. You can email me, or you can email support, and I'll include that in my follow-up email that will go out by the end of this week.
Perfect. Yeah, there are just some final construction details to the site as we get those final preparations made. Each session has their own unique session URL. To Noelle's point, yes, that's correct. So anyone who needs to be a presenter can just use that same link. And then I'm going to go ahead and post a link to a test session right now. If you have already been able to get into the platform, this is where you can go in and start testing your mic and your, you can run polls over the next couple of weeks if you want to. But that will be where you will want to head now, just to kind of test your connectivity. And like I mentioned, Chase will be in there and I'll be in there in a little bit to also kind of help with any troubleshooting that you guys have. As of today, you should be able to test your mic, your camera, your screen share, and you can just kind of check out those chat and Q&A functions as well as the polls. You'll be able to see all three of those tabs. You may not be able to see that mod chat yet, but we'll get you guys all access to be admins on that session this week so that you can see those admin permissions and the edit tools and all of that in this test session. Can guest speakers access the session in Green Room via that direct link without setting up an account through Juno? So Michael, anybody that is going to be presenting does need to have an account through Juno. So if that is something that you haven't connected with Noelle yet, Noelle, I think you would be the best person to connect with, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. But yeah, so anybody who needs to be on Juno needs an account with us, so we can help get you set up with that. I do know that there were a few people that were having some login issues or that didn't receive their credentials. If you want to put your email address, if you're comfortable, you can put that in the everyone chat, or you can just DM it to me. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and reset your password for you so that we can just get you directly into the platform today. And then if anybody else, as Noelle said, this is kind of the end of the formal training. You guys just want to hop into that test room that I put in the chat. That's open for you guys as well. And then you are free to go. We won't come back into Zoom. You guys can just test for as long as you would like to. And again, that room will stay open for the next couple of weeks until start of conference for you guys to continue to test your connectivity.